CNC this Saturday. So we'll be talking a little more about that. But let's go ahead and just go around the room and introduce ourselves and, you know, what we love about CNC or what we want to love about CNC. I'm Craig Jones. I've been a guild member here forever, it seems like. And finally, we have started the CNC initiative at the Guild. And I am just absolutely thrilled. I've only been trying to get this going for probably 6-7 years when I was able to get Legacy to donate the 24x24 Explorer, which is my first machine that I bought. And I traded it in on a Maverick and they donated it. So it's been sitting in the annex for, I don't know, 6, 8, 9 years. So finally, because Rich has come to the Guild and has driven the program, it's going and it's happening, and I'm just ecstatic. So I do a lot of signs. I do some edgelit signs, the little Guild CNC edgelit sign near the computer. I have done a bunch of turning on my machine, which you can go and take a look at some of the things you can use as the 4th axis, which is a turning center. And we'll also be talking about the program that Vince has written for doing dovetails on the machine, for automating that process. Rich, take it away.
Hi, I'm Rich.
You need to pass the mic.
Thank you. I'm Rich. I've been a member of the Guild a little over a year, I think. I just started CNC. I'll tell you a little bit about my machine. And lately I've been making birds. Thank you, Julie.
Hi, I'm Dave Smith. Came back to the Guild this year, was a member up until 2016. I've had 1, 2, 3, 4 different CNCs. Started with a Shark. That lasted for 2-3 months. And then I went to Legacy and got their machine prior to the Maverick, which is called the Artisan. And that was a good machine. And then I bought the Maverick, and now I have a long mill, and I'll tell you a little bit more about that. I make mostly custom game boards, you know, wooden, Scrabble, Monopoly, chess, cribbage, etc.
Yeah. We don't want to miss anybody.
Hi, my name's Allison. That's my CNC machine. I found out about CNCs through Craig Jones, meeting him when I was a new Guild member, and everything I've ever needed a CNC machine for, I've talked Craig into doing for me.
And Richard Masillas.
And Richard, and even friends and friends. And so I'm excited to learn how to do it, so you don't have to be so codependent anymore. What I've done so far is some inlays, 5.5-foot lap joint for 2 arched pieces of fiddleback maple. That was amazing. But what I'm really excited about is I don't know what I could really, I'm pretty creative and I don't know what the limits are. And when I find out what these parameters are, I'm excited to see what things I can come up with. So watch out.
I'm Kate. I've been in the Guild since 2019, and I like working on the plasma cutter, a metal CNC. And so I also want to work on wood.
I'm Julie. You all know I'm your registrar. Come to me if you have a problem. I came to talk to CNC about making birds for us and for the Guild of Oregon Woodworkers and the Oregon Carvers Guild, and was convinced you all were speaking Chinese. So Rich invited me to take the pilot class, and now I can order off a Chinese menu, I think. So I'm really looking forward to this. This is really interested me, and I never thought I would be here doing this.
I'm Tracy Whalen, and I've been a member also from about 2019. I have a Chinese machine, Pacific Tooling 6012, and that's basically 600 by 1200 millimeters. So I'm a millimeter person. I do artwork, I do birds, and other type miscellaneous carvings. And we'll talk about my machine a little bit more later.
I'm Steve McGowan, and I have a machine a friend built, and when he passed away, I inherited it. And so in any case, I had to rebuild the electronics on it because he wasn't very good at. He was good mechanically, but not very good electrically. So I had to rebuild the drivers for it, but and put new motors on it. But any case, I've had it for about 6 years now, and it's tiny. It only has like a 11-inch square build area, and and I make boxes and inlay and cutting boards, things like that with it, with basically ornamental backs on them. And so in any case, and I've also do a lot of 3D printing things too, which basically CNC led me that direction to some extent. And so anyway, but I really do enjoy the woodworking. So.
Randall, can you hear us?
Randall, can you hear us?
Yes, I can.
Yay, good.
Hi, everyone. I'm Christina. I'm pretty new to the guild and definitely new to CNC. I was talking to Phil a couple months ago, maybe, and he encouraged me to come check it out. So here I am.
Okay, well, welcome.
Hi, my name is Ian Walton. I've been a member of the guild since, I think, 2006. And I dabble in CNC in a variety of ways.
My name's Mark Moore. I have a Shipoko, a small 16 by 16 Shipoko. And what I'm interested in doing is cutting things out that I can then glue together and put on a lathe.
My name's Randy Redmer. I'm recently retired, looking to get back into woodworking, and I know nothing about CNC. Like, I'm here to see if I can use it to make router templates.
Vince Corbin. I've been in the guild quite a while. I have a Maverick 3x5 machine. Had that a couple of years. I use it for building furniture and cabinets mostly, and some commercial parts. Yeah, I've been pretty busy the last couple of weeks. I just finished a job that used 15 sheets of 4x8 plywood.
Wow.
Anyway, so yeah, I may talk more about that machine.
Is that 15 sheets that you've used on your machine on the Maverick? Wow. Yeah, right.
I'm Bruce Dorr. I've got a Shark, the second Shark, does what I need it to do or want it to do. I do pretty well exclusively small boxes and stuff. I'll show you some of these. There's very some artwork, but not a whole lot. But just like dabble with it small stuff. So.
Great. I think we have hit everybody. Maybe if we could have our Zoom member identify yourself and tell us a little bit about your you and what you do.
Okay. My name is Randall Till. I was just at the guild the last 2 days, but I'm in Southwest Washington, so I'm a little ways away. So I thought I would just zoom in on this call tonight. But I've only been with the guild about 2 months, so I'm pretty brand new. But I just retired in September. And I have a technology background, so I was just curious about CNC and learn a little bit about it. So I decided to join tonight.
All right. Well, thank you and welcome. Glenn, is that all of our Zoom members? Okay. It's your turn to describe your function here. And he is a critical member of our user group. Yes, there you go. Without a curtain.
Put together, and I'm still debugging, so guys keep coming up with new things. I figured tonight you're gonna probably want to show off that machine, and I don't have a camera for that, so I brought a camera over here so I can pick it up.
Ah, okay.
I'm
What a guy. What a guy.
But you're learning to anticipate.
Yeah. So, well, that's great. Well, tonight we've got several things that we're going to be talking about on our little schedule. First of all, why don't we go through, and I know several people have brought in some show and tell pieces. So why don't we go ahead and we can show and tell what we've brought. So Julie didn't bring anything, but I know that she's just chomping at the bit to talk about birds. So, and yeah, and also talk about the program a little bit.
So last time I came to talk to you about birds, I couldn't even bring you a finished bird to show. So these I actually finished. They are hand done. Take them and feel them. Those are that's kind of the tactile goal that we're looking for. And now for those of you that are just here new tonight, this is a program that I asked the CNC group to help out with carving comfort birds to give away to organizations that deal with mental health crises, traumatized children, perhaps chemotherapy patients, Alzheimer's units, things like that. They are designed to hold and touch, put in your pocket, carry around, know that somebody has cared enough to think about you during a time of crisis. But I just wanted to show off my little hand carved bird.
Done, finished.
Yeah, finished.
All right.
One more thing.
Yes.
You're all encouraged to make birds.
Yes, you are all encouraged to make birds.
Oh,
And I
that's X marks.
to it. So
Okay. Randall, in case you missed it, she was saying that she provides wood for any of us with a CNC machine so that we can make more of the birds. What is the number that you're looking for, Julie? By next week? And when is that? The end of April is the gathering of the guilds. Okay.
Is
And
that because you don't think they'll be worth selling?
no, it's because you guys are kind of my project.
Okay.
the personal project, right? Okay. Where do we stand as far as getting to that 100? Or do you have any feeling for, are we at 10 or 50 or? Okay.
We're already at the sanding and polishing stage.
Mhm. Okay. Yeah, okay. Yeah, let's include our
Zoom
Zoom
members.
member.
Monday afternoon at Larry Wade's, he can have people come over and work on hand carving and grinding and polishing and sanding and so people come, drop in, spend an hour, spend 2 hours, bring their lunch, that sort of thing. So yeah, it's anybody's welcome.
Great. Add some color. There you go.
So I knew Larry 20 years ago in the tech community, and he came to me with Julie and said, "Well, the birds, hand carving takes a long time, more demand than we can make. Can you help us with CNC?" So the answer is yes. So I tried a couple, Ian's tried, Tracy's, we haven't tried. We've now succeeded, many of us, in making making these comfort birds on our CNC machine. It's not difficult. There's a little bit of technique. And it's our intention to teach a class. So those of you that become certified through the intro class, one of the, I'll call it an intermediate, not an advanced class, will be to teach you the techniques for how to do two-sided cutting, how to import 3D models and do that. And so the goal is that we will swamp these hand carvers with birds. And the way that we'll get to 500 birds by the end of the year is by having all the CNCers at least make a couple, make them here, make them at home, make them in a friend's shop. And I'm looking forward to some type of way of indicating how many of these birds we're making. I've made a few already, and some of them just find their way into people's hands. And what I've done with those is suggest that they go to the Guild website and make a donation for a value that they think is appropriate. Haven't gotten those counted yet, but we're still getting started. So the program will grow. We'll talk more about it, but I'm hoping everybody here gets to have the fun of making a bird, learning how to finish them, sanding, some other type of finish, oil finish, wax finish, whatever you'd like to use. And so we're all trying different things to see how they come out. And as Julie said, they all have their own personality.
So where does a person get the programs to carve these birds?
So
Pray tell.
yeah, so you can VCarve, the software that we're using in the class is the software that most of us are using to make these birds. There is a share already that exists for the CNC members where I've put some of the files that I've started with, and I'll go home and update them if people are curious. So if you want to start with a comfort bird model, then there's also a couple of videos that you can watch on the Vetric website. One where Becky and one of her designer friends makes a bird, designs a bird and cuts it out. And then there's another one with a 3D bird design that somebody else did, or a 3D design where you learn how to do the double-sided cutting. You watch those two videos, you have the model, you spend a few hours, birds come out.
How long does it take to carve one of these things or two of them?
Well, thank you, Craig. So we've kind of standardized on 2x2 square blocks of wood to make the birds out of, and Julie's been milling her fingers to the bone. But we now have a lot of 2x2 stock. It varies in length, but what I've done is I've carved two at a time. If you put them back to back or tail to tail, you can get two of them to fit in like an 8-foot length of wood. And pardon me, did I say
Not
8 feet?
8 foot.
8 inch. I mean,
It'll fit in 8 foot.
8
too.
inch, yeah. But also, but you'd get a lot more in 8 feet. But 2 and 8 inches. And so far, without a lot of optimizing, it takes me about an hour per side to carve them. Ian says faster. Yes. Yeah, an hour per side for 2 birds, so it's an hour per bird. I just heard from Brian. He's a guy that does CNC. He said he's got it down to 20 minutes. I don't know what Ian's doing. Half an hour per side for 2 birds. Huh? Ah, okay. Well, it takes longer to do a bit. It's anyway. So we'll work on some optimization. I think everybody will get to apply their skills. I know Tracy's good at this stuff. Everybody should be able to get their hands in, and we can share on the SIG mailing list how you're doing. Maybe we can look for record times. Maybe you can share your car file so that we can all see what speeds and feeds you're using to achieve your results. Because it's all about the kids. It's all about making birds and helping people. And I can tell you that when somebody connects with them, it makes for a special moment.
Mhm.
So I encourage you all.
Great.
Is that all right?
I think so.
Anything else? Yeah, any
Uh,
other questions?
I had one, but I lost it.
All right. How do you
So-
get the wood? Just ask Julie and she'll give you wood. And there's the SIG share, and I'll republish the link to that and you can find some files.
Great.
Okay.
Thank you very much. Did you have anything to add, Bruce?
Share that as part of. Pension and chart.
Come on up. Yeah. Yeah. We're now into our show and tell part of the meeting. So /CNC Shark / whatever else we can ask him.
Start with, this is Becky's birds.
Ah, okay.
So.
That's from Vectric, from Vectric X. Yeah. Perfect.
We've got newbies.
That's my better side, yeah.
We've got newbies here. Explain who Becky is.
Becky is one of the original employees, I think, with Vectric. She's gone through the ranks, but her main claim to fame is she is their main trainer, or video trainer. I think is probably her major title, but I think she's been promoted several times. She, for a long time, did a monthly in the shop with Becky type thing, and just general training.
And Vectric is the vendor or the manufacturer of the V-Carve and Aspire and a variety of other pieces of software for use with CNC. So that's the software that we are using here at the Guild for our machines and classes.
And just a side note with the birds, they take me about an hour a piece. But so much of that is also in the machine chart that don't drive like you would
For some of the
for the speeds and so on. So it's all kind of relative, but that's about what I've been averaging for the carbs.
Okay, great.
It's still twice as fast as a hand car,
Well, at least.
right?
If you come up here to talk, don't play with the microphone because it drives the people on Zoom crazy. So just clip it on to somewhere near your face. There you go.
Okay. So some of the other stuff I do that the Shark handles very well, as far as I'm concerned. I make, just card boxes, that kind of stuff. I don't know if we want to pass these around or not.
Yeah.
If you're careful and pay attention and practice, you can do pretty good inlays with it. I'm on my second Shark. My first one was getting toward the end of life as far as I was concerned, and the inlays just weren't accurate enough. It was just too much movement in it. So the newer one is much stiffer and whatever. So I'm reasonably happy with the outcome of those. You also do stuff, and I don't know if you've played with on the Vectric site.
there's a gadget for Celtic knots.
Yes.
That's
Ooh.
what this is.
Oh,
And it's really fun to play with and really pretty simple. And not bad results. So, and again, that size stuff, my shark handles just fine. I don't do anything big. I would be concerned trying to use the full size of it just because I don't trust it that much, but I don't very seldom do anything bigger than, if I do 1 by 1 foot square, that's a big project for me. So I don't do that very often. So.
Okay. How long does it take to make that, like that tabletop with all the different Celtic knots?
To carve it or to create it?
Both.
Created, first time I ever tried the software and in learning curve, it wasn't more than 10 minutes. You're limited to, it needs to be a rectangle size. You can do as many rows and columns pretty well as you want, but you can't do circles or ovals or whatever, which would be kind of nice. And maybe they'll come up with an upgrade to that. But I was quite happy with it. And like I say, you just get in there and tweak and cut things, and it cuts and moves stuff around. And so you can do pods and do surrounds and that kind of stuff. So it's really pretty easy software. So
How long does it take to carve about approximately?
that one, I think that one was probably an hour.
Okay.
And that was with a 16th ball nose.
Okay.
So you know,
Wow.
that of course
Very-
slows things down when you're
very
using
cool.
something that size. But yeah, I was actually pretty happy with the ease of use with that thing.
For
Yeah.
your inlays, the inlay that is being passed around, what kind of bit do you use?
That one
for the
happens to
inlay?
be, we were talking about that last time, that happens to be a 90 degree.
Oh, really?
That for that one.
Okay.
I prefer 60, but that was the what I had carved that before, and I didn't want to spend the time messing around and changing it, and
Mhm.
and it comes out reasonably well.
Okay.
It's not very deep. I think it's not even, or maybe 0.2 deep for the female.
Mhm.
So it's
Okay.
fairly shallow, but
Mhm.
and then, you know, I found for me, it's all about the press.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
if you can get
Putting enough
some
pressure.
weight behind it, I've had mixed results using the clamp method and the calls and all that kind of stuff. But
Mhm.
I found when I moved to that cheap Harbor Freight press, it was, matter of fact, it's my son's father-in-law's thing that I borrowed. So
Oh,
he's not going to get it back for a while.
yeah, right. It's,
Yes,
uh-huh.
yes,
Okay.
pretty much. Yeah, just
And
a model
basically-
jack, and you could probably build one of your own. So if, you know, for
Those are, I looked into that a little bit, and they're like, well, for
It's-
one
it's-
thing, it's a full stand that
No.
comes from Harbor Freight. I don't know about,
no, this
the
one
ones you've
is,
got.
this one's like
because
this.
that's what I was looking for is.
But
the one, a
it still
tabletop.
takes up, you know, it depends on your shop size. It still
Pretty
takes
good
up room, and
amount of room.
my shop's full, so.
Uh-huh.
But it works just fine, but you're limited to the throw on it, you know,
Sure.
you're not gonna do something like that, but for inlays, you're probably not working on that
Mhm.
size of stuff anyway,
Yeah.
so.
Okay, well, thank you. Thank you
Yeah.
very much. Let's, why don't you pass the mic to Trish? Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Another thing while I'm here, this is another thing, Craig also asked me to talk, you know, I've also got a Etsy. No, I've got a laser, a Chinese 30-watt, 50-watt laser. And he says, when do I use lasers as opposed to this? I usually combine two things. These boxes are made on the CNC, and then I enhance them with laser cutting on them.
The engraving.
Engraving. And the main reason I could probably do an awful lot of this on the CNC. Challenge with the CNC with certainly something this size, other than somebody that built it. Pull downs, and so
something like this to try to hold it in place and not spin it off the thing without jigs and all that kind of stuff, where I can set it in the laser and, you know, it's kind of the same software and same idea with the software.
Well, first, and then.
It could,
Yeah.
but you know, that's pretty
But it's beautiful.
pretty fine stuff. But you're absolutely right, you know, there's thing, but you know, on the laser, that that carve would probably take me 10-15 minutes,
You know,
probably.
what you do.
It's a Chinese 50 watt, but you know, on the laser, that's a 2-minute carve. It zips it out and you're done. What I do is I first laser the outline and use that as my jig, so I can set it right on and I can repeat all the box tops that I do with that. Then
How do you get the belt or whatever it is?
that's flocking,
Blocking.
Yeah.
Okay.
which Tracy was asking about last time, but yeah, there are some boxes or some things I don't mind flocking in, but especially small stuff, that's easy and
That seems
fast.
kind of messy.
Laser and cut it, yep, absolutely.
Yeah, for
Absolutely.
especially for the bottom, but the sides.
And
Or
I might try that one time, because I got a whole bunch of scraps of the felt that it doesn't fit, you know, any of the boxes I normally like, the other boxes I put the felt in. But yeah, it'd be worth a try, especially something with the
And
design.
does that doesn't cause any evil smoke? I mean, or really? Yeah.
Well,
yeah,
and
it's-
I would doubt it would anyway.
Okay,
It's
yeah,
not-
I just-
It's not like it's vinyl or any of the things.
Yeah, okay, but just curious. Okay. And you know, for those of you that you know, with my little business, my brother-in-law has a laser as well. And basically we do a lot of I do the woodworking, and then basically we enhance that with the laser. And
Just bought one, huh?
how much was that?
One sale.
Was that $200? Way to go,
You
Vince.
bought me gas. It's all right. Do you want me to, while I'm here, talk about my shark experience, or we want to wait for that? Or
Why don't we go ahead? Let's do the rest of
I've had it for 5 years now, and it cost me $1,800. But they're way down from that. You
Yeah,
probably get one $500 to $700.
You get next to a diode laser.
way under 1,000, like a couple hundred for some of the tour.
Well, and that's the key, is how much it'll cut or what you're trying to cut with.
Cut. Yeah,
Yeah.
I think that's the issue.
I do with mine. I've certainly 1/8 inch and quarter if I do multiple passes, but you know, 1/8 inch ply is, or the 3 mil ply is no problem.
Pretty easy. Yeah.
Yeah, they will cut. They are, if you can, it's like your eye. If you can see through it, it's not going to cut it.
Right.
If it's clouded or shaded or colored, it'll cut it.
And one of the things that I've heard is
Diode laser. So
yeah, the diode lasers, you can put a coating on some of the material, and then it will cut through. I think you've done that.
And I can edge glass. So I brought my I did try doing it on acrylic. It doesn't come out with a very good job yet. I haven't dialed in the speed and
The power. Uh-huh. Okay.
Which is even more critical with laser than it is on a CNC.
Yeah, it's
Speeds are-
and the focal length. There's a lot of issues with the diode that are real critical. Okay, Tracy, your turn. Come on up to the X.
Okay, hopefully everybody can hear me. So my show and tell is I have birds just like other people. I had some material and I brought this in last time. It was awfully big material that Julie had given me. So I made big birds and I made about 8 of them or so. And it's very light wood. It's really more conducive for a hand carver. So I brought that wood back. And I got some other wood that I'm going to use, but I had some spare walnut in my house. And so I made some walnut birds. And I put some Watco oil on some of them and other ones I just left natural. The only thing that I did though is that the comment that Julie had given us originally is that the beaks were a little bit sharp and pointy. So I came up with a way, at least from my approach, that I think I solved it for me, and is that I added one of the 3D tabs to it, into the model, and I put it where the beak was and carved it out, and then I hand did the beak. So that's what I've done. So I made a whole bunch of them. They're all over there, and they'll get to Julie tonight. One of the other things that I've done is we have a meeting with the general meeting of the guild, and the CNC group is going to be making a presentation. So I made this. I don't know if they can see that. And it's 2 treatments of the same artwork. And the one's V-carved and one's inlaid. And so this was to give the general membership an idea of what could be done to enhance a project. Because we're all hearing all the time that, oh, CNC is not real woodworking and everything else. So I made that for that. And then my other thing that I've really been working on is this. And the logo and the keyhole are the most important part on this project. But I did another one of these. I made one of these previously and I liked it, but I gave it away to my neighbor. So decided I'd make another one. So the material is African mahogany. And then to give it some color, I went ahead and, you come up with all kinds of different ideas. And I just used some Old English scratch remover to give it some darkness and everything else. And then I went over it with some shellac. So that's what I've been working on.
Tell them how long it took to carve it. Or maybe you don't tell them.
No, that's
15, 20 minutes.
The roughing pass I did all together, and that was about 6 hours. That was after I did the back. Oh, also remember, if you're going to put your logo and a keyhole in it, it's got to go on first before you flip it over, because you're never going to be able to carve anything once you've done a 3D. To do the finish, I only work. I'm retired. I start in my shop about 1 o'clock, and we'll play until about 9 o'clock in the evening. Okay, and so what I will do is Mach 3 allows you to pause your work or to hold. Okay, and so I'll do that, and I'll turn the spindle off. And so I don't stop it, I pause it. So the G code is paused. Come back in the morning, turn the spindle on, and then get it moving again. So, but the timer on the software is still counting. So total time was 3 days and 7 hours. Actually, it was 6 hours and 58 minutes, but who's counting? So, so that's how long it took to actually do the finish. And then, of course, I had to do the profile to get it to get it cut out with tabs and everything else. And that only took 5 minutes.
So
So,
how long did it take for you to design this, in the
Right.
software?
right. I
Uh,
don't design it. I
no,
acquire and I buy most of my artwork. And there are some free spots, but most of it I purchased, and that was in one of my packages that I got like 150 pieces of artwork. It comes into a file that's an STL, which allows you, it's already 3-dimensioned for you. And you bring it in, you have to manipulate it, fit the piece of wood that you have, how thick you want it. And I could have made that the same size, but brought it down in profile to where it wasn't as thick and didn't have as much 3-dimensional or 2.5 dimension as a lot of people like to call it with VCarve Pro. But I like to have things well defined, so I brought it up where it fit what I like to do. So great, and that adds to it as it's going passed around. You can look on the quote, the frame, the border on the outside, all that texture. The reason why it takes so long is because the machine is just going like a crazy going through there. So it just takes a long time.
Okay. I want to
Okay.
talk about your the
Do
cool
we want to
little-
go ahead and talk
Sure.
about the machine?
Well, oh, that you want to do that at the when you
Yeah, I
talk
was going to
the
talk
machine.
about that.
Okay.
The machine.
Is there anything else that anybody has brought in to show and tell? Thank you, Tracy. Ah, you got to come up in front. Can't talk from the back.
Right. I brought these in earlier. They're now finished. I made a few more of them actually. I struggled with this. It's come out to my satisfaction, given it was a scan from a phone. And certainly when I'm next in England, I'll do a better scan of this young man and try and improve on it. I had terrible trouble getting these holes through this elbow here. I was doing it 4-sided, and I've got software which quite happily will generate 4-sided views, but registration is a nightmare, getting absolute registration. So the carvers amongst you will be delighted to learn I took out some carving tools and did this by hand. I did it in about 20 minutes. So there's life after death.
So you're not a complete cheater.
I'm not a complete. Yeah, I scanned this with the night. Free software, and you walk around first. It works best if you believe it or not have two phones, because you can see what's going on if you put two phones together. The software actually doesn't do that. It actually gives you a back view. So you walk around the person a few times, and it shows you whether or not it's caught it. Then you put it into a thing. In my case, which will, it doesn't come out perfect. You've got a close hold thing. But if you're familiar with mesh picture, it does that pretty much automatically.
Does it look like the person you took it out?
Oh yeah.
So how long did that person? How long did the person have to sit completely still? So it's really pretty quick. Wow.
And I'd recommend it to anybody to have a go. I'll pass them around, but
Use the mic there.
it's quite effective.
Oh.
I'd have a go. I was talking to Larry Wade. I'm sorry. Yeah, Larry, who does the carving, got all these collections of things that he wants to image. He wants to get 3D images of them. And we've had a long conversation about the various methods you can use. This uses a LiDAR scanning, but there are other ways using photographs to get a 3D image to carve. The actual carving bit is fairly straightforward, but as I say, registering it is very, very hard. I'm going to have a go doing it continuously rotary. And I'll let you know how that works. Yeah, I mean, I've making my own little thing. So I'll let you know how I get on.
Okay, good. Okay. Anybody else? I brought in just one little project that I made this for my wife for Valentine's Day a couple of years ago. I'm not on the X. Sorry, Bland. And our remote people, sorry. Anyway, I made this, it was a project that Legacy had years ago. And basically made this. And it's really kind of fun little thing. It has a little pouch for his stuff and her stuff, or in our case, it's hers and hers. But you know, that's another story. One of the things that I have done, and if anybody would like to do this, I put the files, the carve files for this little project up on the Google Drive. So I'm happy to share this with anybody. The files that are up there, it'll be great if your initials are CAJ and MKJ. But you're welcome to you know, pollute the project and put other initials on if you choose to. But anyway, you know, one of the issues or one of the hassles is actually trying to do the sanding inside the box. But I think if you run your bit slow enough, it doesn't have to be sanded a whole bunch. I found that the base, I did this with, excuse me, one of the fishtail bits, and it put little lines around the bottom. So I had to sand those out, and it was painful to do that. But you know, there are probably some other bits that could be used that would minimize some of the sanding. But anyway, it was kind of a fun little project, and it generated tears and so forth. So it was good for a good present for Valentine's. It created mine for doing the sanding when I tried to sand it, but you know, but it was well accepted. So in fact, when I was leaving tonight, she says, "Where are you going with my box?" So I am committed to bring it back. So anyway, let's talk about one of the subjects for tonight's meeting. And that is going to be talking a little bit about different machines. And we wanted, I'll not get into it. As I advertised on our little flyer, by the way, is everybody here getting the flyer that I send out, the agenda? Okay. If not, please let me know, and I'll make sure, Rich and I will both make sure that you get on the mailing list. Huh. Oh,
Did anybody who's on the list get the agenda for this week's meeting?
really?
No. I looked for it.
I sent it out last week. Yeah, I did. I wanted to send it out early, but
Well done.
yeah, well, yeah, not well enough, obviously. Okay, what I'm going to do, I will send out a little note tomorrow. And please, if you don't get something tomorrow, why don't you call me or just send me a text or an email, and we'll see why it's not getting out to various people. Did anybody get it?
No, nobody got it. So it didn't make it to the list. It didn't. It's a transmission problem, not a reception.
Okay.
problem, I feel.
Okay. That's right. It's all in the agenda. No. Basically, the agenda was to talk to people about the pluses and minuses, or, you know, the good, the bad, and then the ugly about some of the different machines. Because most of the machines we have are either, you know, there's a lot of benefits, a lot of good things. There are trade-offs that you have for the various different machines. So kind of wanted to talk about this, particularly for anybody who is kind of looking to what kind of machine should I look at. One of the first things that I've done when I've demonstrated a variety of machines, the Sharks, the all of the legacy machines and so forth, somebody comes and they say, what kind of machine should I buy? And my question to them is always, the very first question is, what do you want to do with the machine? If you want to do small things, a small one might work. I bought the 24 by 24 machine and I thought, this is great. It's all I'm going to ever need. I learned real quick that there are some drawbacks to that machine. And, you know, there are drawbacks to the Maverick, but it does basically everything I want to do. So let's talk about some of the different machines that people have and talk about some of the pluses and minuses. Julie, did you have a question or something?
If you register for it, you should be getting reminders and reminders that you sent on the agenda. And I told you.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
Tell me, if you're not getting a reminder.
Okay. Okay.
Okay.
And I will send out a thank you for attending the meeting for those who attended. And we'll see if hopefully everybody gets it. I will check with Rich, and he'll be my first phone call. And if he gets it, then hopefully the rest of you get it. Anyway, let's go ahead. Let's start with one of the smaller and a machine that Rockler and Woodcrafters and a variety of different places do sell, the Shark. And there's a couple different versions of it. And I was hoping that Bruce maybe would tell us a little bit about, he already mentioned a couple things about the Shark, but if you would come up and just tell us your thoughts, the good and the bad. I know that the new one is much, much better than the original one, but
Yes, the
if
new
you
ones,
could tell us about it.
new ones, the original issue with the Shark was the gantry, how solid the gantry was. And the original ones, they were okay. I used it for 2 or 3 years, I guess, and was reasonably happy with it because, like I said, to your point, it's what you want to do with it. I had no intention of doing garage doors or, you know, any big stuff and whatever. So I didn't really have an issue. It did start to get toward the end a little bit sloppy. And by that, I mean 30-second off or something. But when you're doing inlays, that's might as well be 2 inches off. So so and then I came to the point that, yeah, do I want to upgrade? And my main point, or one of my main points, was cost point. You know, those are entry level cost wise machine. And I looked at that for a couple reasons. Is one, I didn't want to spend a fortune, to me, buying one of those when I wasn't really sure how much longer I want to do this. You know, second thing is when you're in at that level, they're pretty easy to sell. You know, trying to sell a $15,000 machine as opposed to, you know, $4,000 machine is a whole lot of difference. There's an awful lot bigger market for it. The other thing that kind of drove me was they were offering a free laser with it. The thing. I didn't even, I haven't installed it yet. main reason is they use their own software. It doesn't work with Vectric software, which was what I was hoping to be able to do. Is it's pretty slick, the Vectric software, where you can just use the same files and same stuff and just different processor and Bob's your uncle, but it's that's not the case.
Tell us a little bit about the laser. I know that I've seen one, but
Like I say, I haven't installed it, so I don't know. It's just a small thing and bolts onto your on the side of your router or your spindle, and I think you can either permanent mount it, or there's different ways of doing it. You can do it with magnets or whatever, and once you register, it should work.
and that's a diode laser, right?
That's a diode laser, and I think it's a 5 watt is what it was, but there was a couple changes from the old one to the new one. The Shark, the old one ran off a dedicated, I had a dedicated PC and or laptop and whatever, and it was controlled from there. What I liked about that was you could hook it up a game controller to control your machine, and it was really nice because you can get really accurate and you can get close and see it while you're doing it. The new ones are only off a spindle or off their dongle, their proprietary piece of thing that you still plug in a thumb drive to it to get your files over, but all your movement and everything else is off that pad. So it's and I've got big fingers, and so I've got to use a pencil to try to hit the hit the right squares. But all in all, like I said, it does what I like to do with. When I'm ready to move on,
What is the cost of?
I think I
for-
paid around 4,000 for it. I've got it's I think it's a C10 or R10 or something. I don't think it's the top end one, but it's certainly not the Piranha.
So in the 4.
Although it's always had that. My first one did, but
Yeah.
Well, my first one was the demonstrator model from Rockler, so where
Already been abused.
yes.
Few months. And then I saw all these screws.
Yeah.
No. Don't use it. And I don't either. You know, I clamp down a spoil board on, and I don't have a dedicated spoil board. I just take a piece of MDF and throw it on there and clamp that down, and off I go. Because and that's one thing that the Shark has built into their software. They have you can zero out your machine at 4 corners, and it will, within the software, then equalize that so it tries to cut it as if the thing's flat. So
That's a really nice feature.
nice feature, but you know, for the stuff I do, it doesn't matter. You're not going to be off. If I'm off at a box top size, you know, I've got bigger problems than
The spoil
than
board.
that. But that is one really nice feature of the new one. But
Well, thank you.
but
Okay. And just the one comment about spoil board, one of the things on our legacy machines and most all of the machines is that if your spoil board is not flat, you run into serious problems, especially if you're doing just like text and that kind of thing, or a line all the way around your project. On one side, it'll be deep enough to see. On the other side, where the board is not, your base is not flat, the line disappears. So it's really critical to have that board flat. So anyway, just a little piece.
10,000th of an inch.
Too much. Yeah, it doesn't take much. So anyway, just a little mini point. Okay. You want to go through your Avid machine? Okay.
Can I jump in real quick?
I'm
This is
sorry.
Randall.
Yeah.
Hey, I'm having trouble calling. My internet is going in and out on me. I have satellite internet and I'm missing some of the conversation. So I think I'm going to drop off and make it a little bit easier on everybody. But thank you for accommodating me. I was able to follow pretty much everything up to this point.
Okay, if you want to call us, we can talk about, you know, some of the things. If you have, especially if you have questions, you're welcome to call me. I'm sure you can probably, there's several of us that are in our little CNC group here at the Guild that would be happy to answer questions. Do you have, did you say that you have a machine or are?
No, I do not. I do
Okay.
not. I do.
Okay, well, if you do have questions, you can certainly give us a call. If you drop into the shop when one of us are here, we'd be happy to show you a couple of the machines that we've got here in the shop. So feel free to call us.
Okay, I will plan to come to the next meeting in person.
Perfect. That'd be great.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for coming, and we'll hope to see you one of these months.
Okay, thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye. Well,
Just a moment.
that eliminates the need for the mic. Yay.
Right.
So we just need to continue to use the mic. Okay. I stand corrected.
If you wanted to be a talk.
Yeah. Yeah, really.
You can do it. It's trying. Did you, is that me or you? I'm switched. Oh, it was there a minute ago.
Maybe if we just blink our eyes. Right.
Yeah, crap.
Or maybe you're gonna just really need the voice.
Seeing that one going. Yep, 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 yep. Okay, so I am Rich. I decided to get into CNC about a year and a half ago with the idea that I wanted to do Japanese joinery on a CNC machine. If you Google Japanese joinery on a CNC machine, you won't get much, which I like. But it's hard, right? To be a good Japanese joinerist, you need 20 years of hard labor, and I'm 70, so I needed to cheat. So the CNC machine was how I wanted to do it. Of course, I've discovered all kinds of other things to use the machine for, but that was my initial impetus. I'm also a geek. So the idea of building my own machine from a kit, at least I'm not as geeky as Ian, but the idea of building from a kit seemed like a good idea. And because I'm kind of a computer geek, assembling my own controller also sounded like a fun idea. So I set about, this is before I joined the Guild, it's before I knew anybody with a CNC machine. So I did a bunch of research on the internet to see what I might find, and what I came up with was the
Yay.
came up with the Avid machine. So a couple of the other goals that I had, my shop's in my garage. It's a 3-bay garage, but only one of the bays is dedicated to the shop. So I've got a limited amount of room because I got all the rest of the crap. I had a bad case of tool lust over COVID. Piece of advice that I got was buy the second machine first, which I kind of like the idea. So if you're gonna use it, you're gonna outgrow it. So don't buy the first one first, buy the second one first. And I think that's what I did. So I could have gotten a Shapeco. I looked at those, and some of the other, I would call them more entry-level machines, and decided that I wanted something a bit more robust. And as I mentioned, putting together the controller sounded like a good time. So I found Avid. They're a kit. It's made out of extruded aluminum. I'll show you some pictures. It's, I think, a pretty robust design. They also sell all the electronics. It sounded like overkill and expensive, and I could build it cheaper than that. So I didn't get their controller and shopped for how to build one. And there's a company called Centroid. They make a variety of controllers, typically for high-end milling machines, lathes. CNC isn't just for routers, you probably know. But they had this entry-level device that used all the same software and basic technology. So I thought it would be robust. And they had good documentation for how to take their controller, which is the heart of the machine control thing, and integrate the computer and the drivers and the rest of the crap. So this is the machine. It's the Avid. It's a benchtop machine, although it requires a much bigger bench than I have. It's a 2x2 foot bed, but it's 42 inches square footprint, so it's a good size. It doesn't have the vertical work holding, which is one of the requirements that I need in order to do the joinery, but I worked with one of their application engineers and we kind of figured out how we might do something. So I started playing with that. I've got some ideas about how to do it, but Steve McGowan's got better ideas for that kind of thing. We'll figure something out. In the meanwhile, I'm happy to use it as I'm using it now. But part of what I did was I adapted a base. They have larger machines, so I worked with the engineer. We made a smaller version of the base to stick it on, because like I said, I didn't have a bench top to put it on. I bought their electronics packages, their steppers and the cables and a power supply. You want proximity limit switches so that you don't end up driving the gantry into the side repeatedly. You want to only do it a couple of times, and oh, that's how you say, oh, okay. And then you don't do that anymore, so that's good. Optional T-track table. You'll discover all kinds of questions about how do you want to hold stuff down, spoil board, vacuum table, T-track, all kinds of stuff, tape. There's a variety of techniques. But I got the T-track table, it'll come up in a minute. And then I got the touch plate for touching off, finding the corners, Auto Z, blah, blah, blah. And then the price without the controller, I was surprised when I looked, it was $4,000. I believe it was $3,000 when I bought it. So I couldn't get it. I had to wait 4 months. Now you can get them, but the prices are up. This is how you put it together. It's all extruded aluminum, this 80-20 extruded aluminum stuff. It's very rigid. The connectors and the way you assemble the stuff together is pretty easy. Use a hex key into a screw and the things and the stuff, and it's like a giant erector set. It took me 3 or 4 days to put it all together, but it was pleasurable. The instructions were great. I had no difficulties putting it together. You can see I put MDF spoil board on top of the T-track. Used a surface planer to get it flat. I believe it is nice and flat. I've cut through a variety of Rockler hold down clamps already. And you can see I've made a couple of my own. I learned that from Vince. It's one of the rites of passages to cut the nose off your clamps. For the controller, if you want to go hardcore, you get a NEMA enclosure. It's industrial grade. It costs a small fortune. Comes with a bunch of stuff. I got a plastic box with a lid on it. There's a little Windows PC that actually bolts to the back of the monitor, runs Windows. I got a touchscreen monitor. I'll show you that in a minute. The controller, the stepper drivers, power supply, blah, 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 blah. And I don't know, 3 or 4 days of fun screwing shit together and and wiring things, and some of us like that stuff. It's like the smooth stepper, or it's go right ahead. The Gecko drive is just the stepper motor drivers. It isn't this. it offloads the Windows CPU to do the actual G code interpretation and driving of the stepper motors. Okay.
Really simple, man. Step and direction signals. Sorry, I don't.
Yeah, he's got that. Yep. Anybody else want to geek? Julie? You good? All right. Roger that. Oh, what's the the gantry is that, see the horizontal big hunk of aluminum horizontal thing? That's the gantry, and it holds that yellow thing. That's the router motor. We'll walk back over there. We'll show you it's in the class. Come to the class on Saturday. She's already enrolled. We're kidding. But yes, so we'll explain the gantry and all that. But the gantry is the thing that holds the router that moves around. And part of what you're looking for when you're purchasing a machine is how rigid and stiff that gantry is. There's a remarkable amount of force, lateral force in particular, acting on that. And if the thing twists or rocks or anything, your precision down at the workpiece is all hosed up. So one of the big criteria is how rigid is the assembly, and then how precisely can you drive that gantry around. If you look at all the steel on the machines we've got back there, that steel is there just for that kind of rigidity. Good. All right. I added a keyboard tray because this is the aluminum thing. It has all kinds of places to bolt stuff on. Very handy for that. And then I also I got one of the game controllers to jog the machine around, but the keyboard's right there and I get to use the arrow keys, and it's super convenient like that. So I haven't really used the game controller. But I do have the software supports a touch screen monitor. This is really handy. So all the machine control that I'm doing, other than the jogging itself, I'm doing by poking on the screen. And you can see the screens right next to the machine. And so it was like $500 or $600 for the monitor, but I was glad that I did that. So we put it all together. You can see I got my fingers crossed because I'm about to fire it up for the first time. And it went okay. Dave Smith was there to help me christen the machine. We cut a couple of things, and then I was cutting the sign, and then this happened. Actually, it happened on Dave's Scrabble board first. He drilled a hole through it. You make big holes like that with the collet. You don't actually need a bit. The bits. It started cutting with the bit, but it ended cutting with the collet. And then it happened every now and again. So the question is, why? So the first thing I'm thinking, it's the controller. There's electrical noise in the controller, and I didn't build the controller right. The box is all wrong, and I wish I bought that NEMA enclosure with all the noise. That wasn't it. So it wasn't the controller, but it took me a while to figure that out. And then I started, because I put the machine together, I started poking around. This is the plate that the router itself mounts to. There's a router mounting in the router. So this is the thing that goes up and down. And it came as a sub-assembly with the lead screw and the gizmo that slides up and down on it. And that red thing is supposed to be threaded into that thing that my thumb is on, but it wasn't. So it just kind of went up and down when it felt like it. So we screwed it in and we put the locking nut on and we put it back together again. And fortunately, I haven't had a problem with the machine since. So I've been using it now. We did that in July, right? So it's a little over half a year. I've made a few signs. Dave made some stuff on it. I've made a bunch of birds. I carved some hearts, some 3D stuff. I'm learning. So I'm really pleased with how it turned out. I still think of it as a fun project to put together. I'm delighted with the machine. It's very resilient because I have slammed it into the wall and carved it with collets and all that stuff. And the machine you reset the machine and it bounces back, and it's been just fine. I know my machine really well. Fortunately, I haven't had to do a lot of maintenance on it, but I didn't use Loctite. I wish I had. I'm gonna have to go back and retighten some screws. The hardest part of the project was integrating Avid and Acorn. I thought that there'd be online forums with guys, lots of people that have done this before, that would tell me how to do it, and there weren't any. Acorn is from Centroid. Right, that's the controller board. And so there's a whole bunch of finicky parameters about how you tell the board about the specifications of your machine, and Avid didn't publish many of them because they include them in their customized version of Mach 3. So I had to dig through their config files and a bunch of other stuff to put it all together. It's fine. But it made it a little bit harder. The T-track hold down has worked great. You gotta tighten them really tight sometimes, but it works really well. I was surprised at the prices. And while I don't have my machine set up yet to do the vertical work holding and all that, we now have a machine that'll do that. So I'll get started on that, and hopefully that'll motivate me to modify my machine. That's it. Questions?
What was the total price?
Oh, so I think I spent $3,000 on the hardware, which now lists for $4,000, and I spent about $1,000 for the controller.
And
So did I save any money? Probably not. Did I have days of fun putting it together? Yeah, I had. No, it was about 24 hours of frustration when my call it turned into a bit, but it was very satisfying to figure out what it was. And it didn't go on for weeks, and I didn't have to call in a specialist or somebody like that. I hear there's guys in town that maintain these machines, and I could have done that if I had to, but oh yeah, I threw a piece out the window. Well, we're just talking about the machine. We're not talking about so much its operation.
Holdouts are important.
Yeah, I didn't, so I was learning how to do the double-sided cutting thing, and I didn't hold down the piece as well as I needed to on the flip side, and it picked it up and threw it out the window of the garage. It was a heart, not a bird, but yeah, my heart took wings. There you go. And it's the only window in the garage. How it found it, I'll never know. Light sensing something. Yeah, so the window's now repaired, and my wife's gotten over it, and I have too. Oh, you gotta add it. You're gonna add in the window? No, you can. No. That's you can't blame the machine for that. That's strictly operator error. Yeah. No. It's 5 and change between. If you did it today, it'd be between 5 and 6. But memories come down and storages come down. And
what about if you had bought the controller with it from Avid?
say it again.
If you had bought the controller from Avid,
It was $1,500 at the time. It looked like it was 1,800 or 1,900 on their website now.
so maybe about 2, so it's basically 6 if you were to buy
Yeah.
it right now.
Yeah.
About
Yeah.
or approximately.
That'd be about right. And then you get a surface planer bid and a
Well, yeah.
starter bit set and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you have to have some, either you'd buy the controller from them already assembled. They have a nice one in a NEMA enclosure. Upgradable for the 4th axis, well, all that. So is mine. And it's $1,800. So you need to have the controller with the PC and the monitor and all of that. And then the hardware and the stepper motors, which is what makes the thing actually move. And so for me, all of those things were individual line items. But if you went to Avid and said, give me your stuff, you'd buy 4 line items and you're done. Yeah. Some assembly required.
Yeah.
Well, you still have to put together the hardware. Good.
Great.
Anything
Thank you.
else? 3, 2, 1. Oh,
Done.
thanks.
Thank you. One of the people that has been in our guild or our user group is a guy from Corvallis. He was the chief technical officer at HP, and he was looking at it, and he actually has an Avid machine, and he was looking for a second one and decided to get one of the legacy machines. And he decided that because of probably not using the Loctite or whatever the issue was, but he has had to go back and tighten a lot of the different bolts on the machine. So, you know, we wanted to talk a little bit about some of the negatives, and that was one that he had. Another negative that I've heard from other people is they don't want to assemble it. And that's a valid concern. This is like a giant erector set. It's not difficult, but it's a fair amount of work. And if somebody is not inclined to want to put something together to build a kit, then, you know, that's something to consider. That's all. Okay. Let's take a 5-minute break and let's reconvene. And at this point, why don't we go ahead and we'll talk about, oh, I'm sorry, Vince, go ahead.
PowerPoint to Rich's. I was just totally opposite of Rich's. I had a woodworking business and I wanted a turnkey system that I could get to work doing furniture now.
Mhm.
So I bought Maverick. And it was 17,000, but it was on sale for 14, and then with shipping, software, bits of college and everything, it probably came to close to 20,000 stuff.
Mhm.
But I love it. It's a great machine. The only thing that I ever complain about is well, it's big enough to do cabinets one at a time. To do larger sets of cabinets as I have a machine.
4x8.
But I can do take the software and go down to something else.
Mhm.
So anyway, I didn't want to fuss with it. I just want to use
Yeah.
it right.
Yeah. And it's a valid point, and it's all up to the person, you know, do you like doing that? If so, great. If not, don't do it. Yeah. I know there's one of my friends that kind of comes to our meetings once in a while. Scott is his name. He has a 4x4 Avid machine. And one of the things that I want him to talk to us about at some point, one of our meetings, is the auto tool changer that he bought all the pieces and has configured, so that one of the hassles with some of the machine is that yes, it does most of the work for you, but you also have to change the bit. You know, it requires 3 or 4 changes of different bits that you use for different jobs. And that depends, it becomes frustrating. But the auto tool change is amazing for somebody with a production machine, because it just goes through and it automatically changes the router bits. I've worked with Richard Masilis, who has the bigger version of this, which is a 4x8. It's called a Gemini, and it has an auto tool change. And I go out and use his machine, and I'm spoiled, not enough to invest in a tool changer, but it's awesome. Anyway, let's take a 5-minute break, and then we'll come back and we'll talk about the 2 machines that the guild has, and maybe a little more about. Pardon? Yes. Yes. Yeah.
Oh.
So you're signed up for our class? Woohoo! Wow. So interesting.
Well, and there was one student left like at 11 o'clock at night, and then I got it at 11:02.
Oh, all right. Good deal. That's great. What's
Picture of this here.
No,
Okay.
you're here.
Okay.
And I will put you on there.
I've heard that these people that are building this is pretty proprietary. I don't know, they don't want to share it with other competitive businesses. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. Totally. No, there are some just amazing woodworkers in the guild. Incredible. You know, putting a lot of these things together. Wow. I'm impressed. Yeah. Well, you know, it's sharp corners are not good. But uh-huh. Uh-huh.
Yep.
Oh, uh-huh. Yeah. Well, there's been a lot of pressure on the guys building doing the build out. Not really, but I come in for the CNC and hear the blue language, you know. No, I'm kidding about that, but no, it's you know, I hear some of the, oh wow, you know, we got to get it done by at such and such a date, and we're busting our butts trying to do it.
Yeah,
And
it is.
you know, I've been so impressed with these guys. It's just amazing.
Yes.
You're gonna be there on Saturday.
We were
Here,
here.
for the class, the 8-hour class.
Which class is Saturday?
CNC.
Oh, this. I wasn't planning on being here Saturday.
Oh, I thought I saw your name. I thought I saw your name.
I don't think I am. What do you want to say? You want
We've we decided when we were redoing our house, we wanted granite countertop. Yeah, and we did, but it's granite, and it really for a kitchen. Yeah. I went to there's Par Lumber has a cabinet seconds store. It's just right off of Highway 30, just before you get out of the main drag and get to the really road. There's a little Y that it's off of Highway 30. It's not out to Gobi, Walnut, but it's partway out. But look for the tile stores are right on the thing. This is on I think it's St. Helens Boulevard. I'm not sure. It's the alternate. Yeah, and we bought all of our cabinets there, and it was great. Where was I going with it? Oh, they had a butcher block thing. It's from here to the wall, and it was. I did. I have mine, and I bought it for that. It was about $200, but it was, you know, about 3 foot wide, or almost 3 foot wide, and really long, just a really nice countertop. So that's what I did. A couple of them. Yeah, they had several of them when I bought mine, and I've seen them in there since then. But anyway, I'd be happy to send you just a picture of it if you're interested. You know. Mhm. Yeah, and they're, you know, the thing is about that thing, about 1.5 inches, something like that. So I mean, it's solid, and it takes 2 of us to move it. It's heavy. Yeah. So anyway. basically. Yeah. I think these are a bit heavy. I'm sure they're heavier than my countertop thing, but it definitely is pretty heavy. Anyway, just it's a light. For the cabinets. We went in and we looked at all the different groups of cabinets, and we had our little layout that we wanted. Yeah, how they fit together, and that was okay. I was looking at birch, and my wife says, "No, I like this one." Cherry. So it's a cherry kitchen. So it is, and it's a medium dark. I think we gotta. Oh yeah, it is. You can. Let's just move it out of the way.
Is this your mouse?
Yes, thank you. Get it out of here. Right. Okay. I think our 5 minutes, our 5 minute break is up. So no. It's been more than 5. So let's go ahead and reconvene because we've only got about 15-20 minutes. And we've got a number of things to guys and gals, excuse me. Let's get back to it because we've got some stuff to cover and we want to make sure that we are out of here by 9-ish. Anyway, Dave, do you want to start off talking about the legacy, or I can either? Okay. Let's talk about the legacy machines. Both of these machines are ones that the 2 foot by 2 foot machine I bought originally from. Let's walk up to the machines. All right. Reconvene in the back of the woods. Two different machines. This is a machine that actually Legacy does not sell anymore, but originally I bought this and I bought it with a turning unit that fit onto the machine, and altogether it was about right around $5,000. I had looked at a few different machines at the time that I bought it, and I really like the fact that this is a super solidly built machine. All of the steel parts, everything on it is really very solid, very high tolerances. It was a great machine, and I thought this will be all I ever need. Well, I was wrong. I think that Rich, you had talked about get your second machine first, as opposed to this. Well, Legacy had and still has a great deal where they will give you up to 90% credit from what you paid for this machine for another machine. Great. It goes down a little to 80 and then 70 and then none. But in any case, I decided to go ahead and do the upgrade. And the reason that I decided to do the upgrade, the 24 by 24 for most of the stuff that I did was okay. It wasn't so much this. What it was is that the Z height was marginal or minimal is really my opinion, because when you have a router bit that comes down, that sticks down, you can only put a certain amount of height of wood in it. So I had to be real careful about what I was doing, that I had enough Z height. They came out with this machine and I bought mine not long. Mine is version 1 of the Maverick. And I think I mentioned already, this was about $5,000 for this machine. And I decided to buy this machine. what a wonderful machine it is. Obviously the bed is 2 foot by 5 foot, and you can actually get a spoil board that will fit across. So like for Vince, what he does with his cabinets, he's got a 3 foot by 5 foot bed that he can utilize for his cabinets or whatever else he's doing. The other thing that I really like, and this is my favorite part of using this machine, is doing turning, doing the fourth axis is what they call it. And I've done a wide variety of different things. A lot of the things that you turn can be done on a lathe, but I don't have the expertise by even any stretch of the imagination to do a lot of the things that I can do here on the fourth axis versus a lathe. Obviously, for those of you, the lathe turns the part very fast. You use a chisel basically, or to carve away at it. This turns the piece slow, and all of the carving is done with the router. So it's really accurate. There's a lot of things that you can do, and I literally have not had anybody tell me that they can do a little fish on the turned center. So you can do all kinds of different things. You can put 3-dimensional things onto the rounded surface. One of the other things that this does, they call it a fifth axis. And my opinion is that it's not really a true fifth axis machine, but in the back with the bed, you can rotate it up and down. So you can do any of these kind of things as a taper. So all you have to do, you program this and lift up one edge, and now it becomes a tapered leg. Yeah, yeah. It basically, if you look closely at it, there's a little turn wheel at the bottom, and it just lifts up the back so that tilts it up, and then you have a taper that you can do. And you can do any of these things as a taper. So you can do the spindles, you can do the all of the different things. Yeah. Yeah. Mhm.
The other thing was, it did have
A motor. Yeah.
Middle of the CNC instead of the side. Every now and then you do something wrong on that D axis. It would go under your spoil.
Oops. Yeah. Big oops. Yeah. So one of the other things that I really like, this machine I bought, and I thought, do I want to spend the extra about $1,000 for a spindle? And I decided no, that I would buy it with a router. And the router worked for me. It works well. The spindle, which is this, is way more powerful. It is a water cooled. You'll see that there's a bucket here. We haven't got that hooked up yet, but it's a water cooled spindle. So when Tracy runs her machine for 3 days or 3.7 days, or whatever it is, they can actually keep the spindle from overheating. Oh yeah, I mean, and the bearings, and there's just a lot of reasons that the router works, but this is way better, and the speed is controlled through the software. So you tell it for whatever router bit, for my 90-degree V bit, I tell it to go 15,000 RPM. For drill bits, I tell it, I want to run at 7,000. It'll do it. This on a router, you can't run it slow enough to use, really utilize a drill bit. Yeah, it'll smoke and it'll destroy the bits. But anyway, the other thing that I love about this machine is the rotary, or the vertical vise. And one of the things that Vince has created software that you can use with the vertical vise to make dovetails, a variety of different types of dovetails. And he's better, he can explain better than me. You know, you can do the full through dovetails, half blind, and a variety of different things. And I had not even heard of that last one with the narrowing bit. I don't remember what even. There you go. That's it. Yeah. Sliding dovetails, which. Wow. So anyway, and that's software that he sells that goes onto VCarve and will allow you to do a variety of different types of joinery. I had an option one time. I was doing some table legs. Great, do the table legs on the spindle, and the guy had, okay, now I need a block so that the leg is going to be at a 15-degree angle this way and 10 degrees this way. I thought, oh my God, you know, I got to be a mathematician. Vince would not have a problem with this because he's got his PhD in physics, but I had a real problem. But one of the neat things about this is that you can change the angle. So, you know, you can change the angle here and you can change the angle here. So because of that, I was able to go ahead and create this block to mount the table legs. So it's just a great machine. It's a little more than $5,000. In fact, it's a lot more than $5,000, except for this one. Now, this one is an exception. And for the Guild, this is a zero cost machine that Legacy has donated. In fact, they donated everything, the shipping, they donated the computer, the whole shooting match. So all you need to do is put in the $2,000 to $3,000 of router bits and hold downs and you know, make the T-tracks and whatever else. But the cost on these is in the $15,000 to $20,000 range. I think they do sell this as a 4x8 machine, basically the same pieces, but just a bigger carving area. They do also sell it with an auto tool changer, but you know, that's not a necessary piece to the puzzle. Where is the gantry? Let me look and see. Did you see it when you were down under the machine, Dave? He didn't see it. This is the gantry, and it, as you can tell, it is super solid. Pardon? No, it's not turned on. When you turn the machine on, all of the servo motors lock it in. So now it will not move other than through the software controlling it. These are stepper motors on this one. The bigger machine, the Gemini, the 4x8 machine that I was talking about, it has stepper motors with full, well, there's a difference for stepper motors and for the servos. The servo is a closed loop and it knows and can tell when it's not in the right position. But it's a lot more expensive and just different technology. Questions? Okay, I just brought in a couple things that I've carved on my machine, and you're welcome to take a look at it. These are both machines that the Guild, we're going to have these available for, at least for this class. The ultimate plan, I'm told, is to actually move this machine into the main shop somewhere. And this will be a machine that people can use for, this is more of a production machine. Yeah, okay, so that's the decision they made, okay. Yeah, it's been kind of a process where we've tried to we're coming up with classes. We still have to come up with how to certify somebody, one of our trainees, one of the certified people, so that they can come and use the machine for an interim. It's probably going to be set up so that graduate from the class or go through the 12-hour class. And part of that 4 hours is actually to work with one of us on the machine to do a project and to kind of finalize or internalize a lot of the things you learned in the class. So it's a 12-hour total class. At the end of that time, how do we certify somebody to come in by themselves? And that's still up in the air as far as exactly what we're going to do. Ah, okay, wow, so it's further than, I'm sorry, great.
Any of the mentors that request a block of time, minutes, like together, mentors will be able to shop like so if there's a shop available, we haven't yet determined what the program is.
A CNC essay. So does that mean that the mentors have to pay the Guild? Is that the way the cash flows? No. So anyway.
There's a program in place now where second class, work at your mentor, get certified, access.
Yeah.
We actually have one student in the last class supposed to be certified.
That's my understanding.
Yeah, that's in a good way. In a good way. Yeah. 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 So questions?
What about we just had a session where we described how what criteria you should be to buy your machine.
Yeah. You know, as long as it's only a 1 foot by 1 foot, you can use yours, right?
We haven't figured out how to.
Well, it is clear that the Guild is looking for revenue for shop usage. And in my mind, this is going to be maybe one of the first or one of the early revenue producers for the Guild. And it's likely not going to be at $10 an hour because it's a significant machine. And for a while, you're going to have to come in with a mentor. So that has not been decided how much per hour it's going to be, but that's something that they're really looking at. No, absolutely not. Yeah, I will walk away for 15 minutes on a carve when I see that it's doing exactly what I want it to do. But no, absolutely not. Well, yeah, for sure.
Something like this cost as far as hour.
Per hour.
No hour. Power overhead bits.
Somewhere, I think it's, and we talked about this, Vince and I talked about it a little bit. My opinion is at minimum 50 an hour. If you go to somebody that, one of the companies in town, you probably pay more like 100 or 150 an hour. I know that, Allison, you've gone to use like the wide belt sander and some of those things.
Well, creative woodworking.
Yeah. Yeah, so bigger machines to do that, but
The machine.
yeah. So that's something, actually I need to, before Saturday, because I want to make sure that we have that kind of information, what it's likely going to cost for time on the machine. I'm gonna talk to Legacy and see, you know, they've got a wide number of users and see what their feedback is on how much different people are charging for, basically for this machine. So I'll have that Saturday for distribution, or it just, and it's going to be an estimate. So. Vince. Mhm. Oh, okay. Okay.
That runtime needs setup, which is putting it work. It takes, you know. It takes an hour to set up a job and then break it down.
Mhm. And I suspect that theirs is probably auto tool change, I would think. Yeah, it's a full production machine like the bigger machine, the 4x8. Pardon? Hardwood Industries. And yeah, they do a lot of custom work for milling and a variety of different things. It's an awesome place to do business with. They do sell a bit of lumber, yeah. Okay. Why don't we take, if people need to leave at the 9 o'clock hour, fine. But Tracy, why don't you talk just briefly about your machine? And we need to move back to the front of the room.
Bring it alive. Come on, wake up. Yes, please.
Okay, so back in 2017, I built a wood shop when I decided, after I retired and decided to stay in the Portland area. I live in Beaverton. And so had never been a woodworker, but I'm kind of like a Jill of all trades. So I just decided, hey, let's see what we can do. And midway through the year, I do a lot of YouTube. So midway through the year, I was learning about this CNC contraption. And in fact, actually, since I started buying a lot of items at Rockler, I saw their shark. And said, oh, that's interesting, but it's not very big. And so, but I did a lot of research, and I fell across this one YouTube person from Australia by the name of Roger Webb. And he was selling a machine that was made out of China. And he had his little company called Pacific Tooling. And I liked a lot of things about it.
I-
One thing
We're
is
running a
the,
CNC class.
the
We
bed
have
itself,
moved a bunch of chairs out of the annex.
is, well, the frame is
I
sealed just like that way. But the frame, the bed is
I
actually
set the
cast iron.
alarm over there.
So it's level. And then it has extruded aluminum over the top of that, so it just.
If
that's
you
where
could
you
maybe
connect it.
uh,
So I like the
alarm
fact that
turned
it
off.
was nice and quote rigid. The gantry
Okay,
is cast aluminum. So it's not gonna flex,
so we
as well as the
put the
toe.
chairs back.
Okay, so, one of the things that,
Wouldn't,
if you are
That would be
considering a
great.
machine is.
I've got
what do you
the
really wanna do
little
with it?
key that
I was
opted for, but,
wanting to do a lot of three-dimensional artwork.
okay.
And so not only do you have your lateral.
Yeah, it's Craig.
forces. You have a lot of downforce forces because you want to go up and down and do your carving that way. And that's one of the reasons I wanted to make sure that I had a very, very strong gantry. So, so that's what I did. This picture here is taken in China. I had to order this machine ahead of time. I spec'd out NEMA 35 stepper motors, upgraded a lot of things to like linear ball bearings
Just a minute.
and other items. But so when they completed the machine, they took pictures of it and sent them off to me before they crated it and sent it over to my place. That thing is 395 kilograms, so it's about 900 and some odd pounds. And try wrestling that through a little door. That was fun. So now I'm going to go back over this way. So here it is in my shop, and I put a spoil board on there with T-tracks. I have it pushed back. I'm just showing you some different things that I have. I have a lot of different hold down methods, as well as a sacrificial spoil board when I really want to drill into it, because I don't want to ruin my real spoil board if I'm going to drill into it, or I want to really do a deep profile cut. Normally, I will do a very light profile and just barely cut through, so I don't really do a lot of damage. But like in doing the birds, I'm screwing those down and I'm putting the holes in for the pins, the guide pins, and so I don't want to be putting that into my real spoil board. So this thing has a very, very big footprint, although the actual workspace is only about 2 by 4 or 600 millimeters by 1200 millimeters. And this is showing with my dust collector on there. One of the things that, and I got a call this afternoon saying, hey, how would you like to talk about your machine? So I don't have a nice presentation, but one of the things is I got it with a pendant, okay? And I could either get a wired pendant or a wireless, and I like the wireless. And this allows me to come up to the machine and actually control the motion and so on. So I like my pendant. Other machines that you may look at only operate with a pendant. They don't even operate with a computer, and you have to put an SD card in it. So be sure that you're really understanding what the operating system is or whatever else. I like, my machine operates on Mach 3 just like the Maverick does. And I like that. I can actually pause. I can do a lot of things with the computer controller. And like I say, I just like that. And then the pendant is for convenience. So a lot of good things I like about this machine, but you want to know about some of the bad stuff. So I'll tell you, it's a Chinese machine. The Chinese don't ground anything. So be careful. If you're buying a laser, if you're buying a CNC, if you're buying anything from China, double check to make sure it's grounded. If it's not, ground it. So I literally have taken this whole thing apart because I've had to replace things, but I have gone through all the wiring and grounded it the way it's supposed to be through there. This thing did not come with US power supply. It came with Australian, China, everything else. It is a 220 machine, but it is not a US 220 to where you have 110 and 110 to make 220. It's 220 on one leg. And so I have to have a transformer to run that thing, to run through there. So beware of what you're buying. No, I know what I specified, but no, it didn't come that way. If you were to buy a similar machine, like the people up north, Grizzly, they now sell a Chinese machine, very similar, probably actually made by the same company. It's going to come out spec'd out properly because they're going to stock it here and everything else. So if you're going to buy something through, and I bought this directly through Rogers and his company rather than through, what is it, Alibaba or whatever that is. But just know what you're doing and specify very clearly what you may or may not want. So I had to go through and reground everything. It came with a really Mickey Mouse water pump, 220, the way it was set up. And so it drew off the same transformer power supply, and that was a issue. Even though it's not very much amperage, it messed up the power supply, and I lost one project because I lost my spindle motor because it killed the water pump broke, and it died in operation. I didn't realize it, and it overheated the spindle. So be careful of that. So what else have I had to do? I've had to do some other things. The design on the ball screw underneath is not really correct because I don't know if you can, well, you can tell how long that machine is. And that one's using a rack and pinion drive, whereas a ball screw is just a rod and it just spins. It is not supported. It's supported on one end down here where the bearing is. The other end, after it goes through, is connected straight to the stepper motor and with no secondary support. So, and I run my machine mostly down at the front, okay? So I work down here mostly. And that rod, that means that ball screw is at the other end and putting all the weight on the bearing in the stepper motor. And so I lost the bearing. I replaced the stepper motor, but I was able to replace the bearing, so I have a spare. But bad design. And I can't modify it by doing anything. There's no way to modify that. If I were to run my machine more to the back, I call that to the back, then I wouldn't have that issue because it would be supported by the gantry ball screw. But I like to run down here because my computer is down here and everything else. So what? Right, it should have had a yeah. Yeah. But anyway, if I were to run it down at the other end, I wouldn't have that issue. But I had it once, and I know what I have a spare motor now. So if it were to do that again, I would know. And what it did, it caused the bearing would lock up, and it would jump on the steps. So but that's why you don't want to leave a machine unattended because something could happen with bearings or so on. Yeah. So, but basically, again, I do a lot of artwork. I like what I do. It's worked out fine for me. And since I do love to dabble with stuff, so to me, it's just like working on my car or something like that. Well, hey, I got to work on my machine. And there is maintenance. You do have to keep your bearings, greased up once in a while. You have to just keep it clean. I do like the fact that on the gantry, I do have the accordion little shade there that keeps anything going up in there to bother those particular ball screws. But you'd still have to clean it every so often. So be sure you do your maintenance. So any questions? Oh, oh, oh. Well, today, now, because there's more items available, more brands and more everything else, I would be a little bit more discriminating on what I did. The gentleman, Roger, he went out of business, and it's primarily because he thought because he was specifying these higher end bearings, higher end everything else, it was going to be great. The Chinese were still making it. The Chinese were still sending it out. When I first got this machine, you saw the pictures of it over there in China. Well, they test all their machines. They actually do. They run a test on a lot of different things. They're not testing it on wood. They're testing it on metal. I had metal shavings everywhere because they just fly up because they didn't have the accordion windows on or anything else. So I ended up having to dismantle this and clean out every single little metal shaving to make sure it wasn't going to get dragged into the ball screws and everything else, which I complained to them and so on. But still, little things like that, you know, the people aren't very, and Roger couldn't control that. And he eventually, what nailed him was the grounding issue because Australia was going after him because he was representing it as his company and so on. So, which is fine. I wouldn't get warranty service out here anyway, you know, it would just be me. And so, which I'm fine with that. But I would probably go for a different machine. I like how solid it is though. And as much as I'd love to have a bigger machine, the only thing I didn't do, I spent delivered, okay, I had to pay customs, I had to pay transportation and everything else. So delivered, it was about 8,000. Okay, this was and I ordered it in December of 2017, and it got delivered in March of 2018. Okay, and so that's time-wise. I don't know what they are today, but every time I was looking at upgrading, you know, this and that and everything else, like I have NEMA 35 stepper motors rather than 34s and other things. But I didn't get the bigger gantry, and because I wanted a fourth axis, and really to do that you need a taller gantry. So it's just taller, it's not wider and anything else, it's just taller legs, and the spindle driver, you know, obviously is taller. But that was about another $900. And that was like, whoa, that's stretching it. Because it's just a hobby machine. I don't have them, I don't sell stuff, you know. At the guild, gathering of the guilds last year was the first time I've sold anything because one of the other people that were there liked one of my eagles and he bought it. I decided I wasn't going to give it away to him. But I've given almost everything away, huh? Oh, I know. My thing is I just don't know what to charge for stuff. And I don't really want to, you know, I'm retired. I don't want to play with an Etsy store. I don't want to do all that other stuff. At one time, Bruce had turned me on to a place out in Hillsborough and a consignment store. And I was looking to go there. And in fact, I'd had a nice conversation with him. And 3 weeks later, COVID came, blocked the store up, blocked everything else. And I don't know what he did with his inventory, but I turned around and said, I'm glad I didn't put anything in there. So, but other than that, I just haven't, you know, yeah, I could probably get a fair amount of money for some of the stuff that I do. And there's other stuff I just love to play with. But would it? Well, they, and but, you know, and that'd be it. I love doing that stuff. And I got a nice treasure trove of, you know, black walnut that I've gotten from Gobi and some other things. And that African mahogany was a $200 piece of wood. I still have a nice chunk of it, you know. But, you know, I have all this investment, but I don't make money with it because I've got, if somebody wanted to come in and market this stuff for me, that's fine, but I don't do that. Not my thing. So, any other questions?
Thank you very much.